I made the statement when everything fell to pieces this spring, and I said, I am not leaving this building until I get this thing figured out. We must do better and we must stay. A few members joined me. We met in here the following Monday morning, and I hate to say but the group of us has now grown to about 18 strong that have helped contribute. Some of them drove 2 hours every day to get here. And we put together a proposal that utilizes one-time transfers of funds from special funds that the Treasury is holding that we feel very strongly is surplus money. The suggestion was made that we borrow money to get out of this debacle. Why would we borrow money when we have surplus funds that is taxpayer money? And that's one thing I want to get explicitly clear to everyone that might ever see this. All the money that are in these funds, they're not the special funds money. They're not one person's money. They're not one group's money. This is taxpayer money. That's extremely important to keep that in mind. So why would we go borrow money and pay high interest rates on it and put the state deeper in debt when we've got these surplus funds of taxpayer money that we can utilize to pay the bill? We did backgrounds on everything, looked at 3-year lookbacks, and determined that legally we could come after some of this money, and we had a list of 5 criteria, one of which is that we could not debilitate the fund. In other words, the fund had to be able to continue doing what the fund does, without disruption. So we were very careful not to over exceed the amount of surplus revenue that we took from the fund. When the governor says that we're going to hurt these funds, I think that politicians will say anything. If they don't like something, they will say anything. We got letters from all of his cabinet secretaries, and we said, well, this is just propaganda. Why don't you take the time to send us the actual data and prove to us? Now, I made the statement that once we release all the information, all the funds we're going to go after, if we didn't have data, and shame on them if they didn't have it in the transparency portal for us to see, but if they have data, believe me, we'll get it within 24 hours. This is over a week now since we released all these funds and the numbers to the general public, and guess what? We got no data from any of these fund managers or any of the cabinet secretaries. So obviously they were blowing smoke. A couple really, really good things came out of our exercise that we've gone through. One thing is we know that no longer will we be voting a spending plan, a GA bill, before we have the revenues in place. That has a big, gigantic exclamation point right behind it. If the Senate wants to get one of our budget bills in April, like they did this year, and wait until the last day in June to send it back to us, we're just going to tear it up. We're not going to play these games anymore. Those days are over. This is the people's money. They sent us here to do serious work, not play games. That's one of the first things. The other thing is, by us doing this homework, we have now shed the light of day, big time, on all these funds that nobody ever thinks about. It's a whole nother budget that goes on behind closed doors, in the shadows, if you will, that spends billions and billions of dollars every year that the average taxpayer doesn't know a thing about. Well, it's time they know about it. It's time they know where their money's being spent, and it's a very good thing that we brought this out into the light of day. So from this day forward, we do business differently in Pennsylvania.